when, although we do anticipate, obviously, as he said, movement next week. But Rudy Giuliani and the comments that he's been making, and Congressman Castro didn't say that they were definitely going to subpoena him, right? He said, we got to see. Is there any reality that Giuliani voluntarily, do you think, appears in front of this committee to talk about the events of his work in Ukraine?
Who can really predict what anybody in this administration, the closer you are to the president, what they're going to do? I think it's hard to see him voluntarily going before the committee. He does seem to think that he can take a page out of the president's playbook and not have to go through traditional channels, but speak directly to the American people by going on cable news, and particularly ones that are favorable to him, although Giuliani's been all over the map, which is how I think he said a lot of things that he probably didn't think that he was going to say. But I think the tone that we're seeing overall, the Democrats, both, if they're staying in to do the committee work, going through a serious process, having a somber tone about it, it really blunts kind of the only point that Republicans have had so far, which is that Democrats are gleeful. They've been dying to get rid of Trump. This is the opportunity to do it. So by showing that it's a deliberate process and they're taking it seriously and not gleeful, Democrats are really laying the groundwork.
I would say also on this point in particular, I do think the fact that Nancy Pelosi was so recalcitrant around impeachment for so long helps shape that dynamic with the public, because they recognize she was not running
foaming at the mouth to do that.
I worked in the Clinton White House when that impeachment process was happening. The Speaker of the House then was desperate to have a trial. She's communicated over and over again she's not desperate to have an impeachment inquiry. And really, Trump did force her hand by acting, potentially and likely illegally after the Mueller report.
It took about 4 months, I think, for the Clinton impeachment inquiry to go through from sort of start to finish there.
It was pretty quick, actually.
Well, but you talk about timeline. Some sources are saying, hey, weeks, not months. You heard the congressman there say, hey, I think it's going to take a few months.
4 months, including both the House and Senate action.
Do you think that timeline is realistic for this situation here, Emily?
I think something that I think it probably is realistic to take a little bit longer. I think weeks does seem a little bit short, just considering how much work they have to do. I mean, there's a lot of people they need to speak to, but I actually thought the thing that was interesting that was missing from Congressman Castro's comments was that Trump essentially admitted it. Like he was talking about the fact that it was hearsay, the whistleblower's report is hearsay, but then Trump went on and said, oh yeah, I did it. And I think the interesting language that Speaker Pelosi used this morning, I think is an indication of where the broader messaging will go, because it is so.
What language? What are you talking about specifically?
She said shakedown. She said the president was involved in a shakedown. And that is something that resonates with people. They understand it. And it also fits his pattern of conduct that we've seen so far. So I think that's likely to stick.
Emily, Tisch Sussman, Neera Tanden, it is great to both have you on. Thank you. And thanks for your patience as we pulled up the congressman there. I wanted to make sure we got him in.